Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Chasing Optimum. I have a very unique guest today, Jeffrey Morgan. Hello, my friend.
How are you?
Good, how are you? Make sure you're speaking to that microphone a little closer so we can hear you properly.
I love the introduction so far. Yeah. Unique's good. I'd say unique's good.
I'm very excited about talking to you because I like your story. I think people are going to... I didn't know who you were not that long ago, and I'm thinking, how do I not know this guy? So, and I know you're probably a little bit like me. Everyone wants to know more about your story, sets the tone. But we'll give people a quick update from where I see it.
Yeah.
Grew up in Everleigh. Is it Everleigh Street or Eberleigh Street?
Everleigh Street.
Everleigh Street. You know, Everleigh Street was, when I grew up in Maroubra, everyone was Everleigh Street. You never want to go there. You won't come back out alive. And I have a story on that. Yeah. My dad is electrician, or was electrician, and he worked for the council. He had to go to Everleigh Street one day. I remember when I was a kid, come home, told us about it. He had to have security around him just to walk down the street.
True story.
Yeah, so
that's how crazy it was. Let's find the right term for it. Taxi drivers wouldn't drive. You jump in the city and say Redfern, not even Everleigh Street, and they'd say get out. Yeah, absolutely. Redfern was like the roughest of the rough.
Anyway, so welcome, and a little bit about you. You've come from an interesting past, which we'll go on about, but you're a high-performance coach these days.
Absolutely.
Doing great things. So tell us a little bit, give us the platform of where you came from first.
Yeah, so growing up as in a dysfunctional family, mother and father, no different to many, arguing amongst each other, bouncing between both homes, bouncing between a ton of schools, bouncing between babysitters. 12 years of age, dad's physically abusive, get out on the streets, I'm homeless, I connect with the street kids, we start doing little things to get ourselves food, that turns into crime, get into graffiti, and I'm starting to, now looking back on it, it was all validation and feeling loved by somebody that I didn't get from my parents. Go into graffiti, go into ram raids, go into snatching money off bank counters, going to robbing banks and armour guards. And 2003, I'm arrested for my last ever charge, and I'm sentenced to 7 years down in Melbourne for a bank robbery down there. And that was, the gist of how I grew up, and a lot of dysfunction in amongst that. 20 years of jail by the end of that. And
20 years of jail?
20 years.
Wow.
And in and out. And
where you grew up in Housing Commission by the looks of your videos I've been watching.
Absolutely.
Is that right?
Correct.
I like the one where you went to your old house and said, I grew up that window there. Is that still operating?
That's still
it didn't look like
functional.
It didn't look very like
that's pretty much how we grew up. And a lot of people say, are you glad it's been shut down? I said, that's not shut down. They're living in those houses. Like, are you joking? Because that's just how we grew up, and it's totally normal. But then society's so disconnected from those kids. And when those kids seek this validation, they'll then go out and say, lock them up and throw away the key. The kid's just not getting a role modelling. And if someone like ourselves could sit down with this kid and really role model them, they'll make a better choice. I guarantee you. A lot of the men in jail were broken men that just wanted to be guided in the right direction. And
So you went from 12 years old, leaving home, getting by?
Yes.
Sort of, where'd you live?
On the streets of Sydney.
Yeah.
I slept a lot of the times on the travelator. I don't know if that's the correct term. The walking sort of travelator from the city or Hyde Park down to the Domain. The reason why I slept on the travelator, I could feel if somebody was actually walking along. And even then, I'd just sleep on the side so they could actually walk past me, and I'd look to see if it was someone who would attack me. There was cameras there. I felt safe. It was warm down there always, even during winter. And that was it. And then we started to get hotels. I don't even know how we got hotels. I think, back then it wasn't much of an issue around ID, but we might have got somebody to get the hotels. I'm not even sure. So
I agree with you. When I was younger, I used to go and just stay in them when I didn't know where to stay, and you just leave.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that happened either. I can't remember. And I used to trash them half the time. I don't know why, just drug-fueled things. But so I'm with you.
Yeah. And it's just, people say, do you remember what dates that was? And I was like,
no.
It was so foggy from the trauma and the stress and survival mode that nothing matters other than the food that goes in your mouth or the roof over your head or the right environment where you're safe. And most people want that safety, security and stability. imagine being 12 years of age on the streets of Sydney, and good luck with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so how did you, from there to teens and then a bit older, like you started partying, drugs and things? Where did that all come in?
I didn't get on drugs as a kid because when I was about 13, everyone was, we had probably about 10 overdoses in the area. Heroin came into play, and we had a lot of people who had overdosed at my age, and I was like, well, I don't want to get involved in drugs. And I saw what it did to the community. There was fighting, there was dysfunction. I was sleeping on a bed in the home, 13 other kids on this mattress that was filled with bed bugs. The floor was dirty. The house had music pumping all night and drugs and alcohol in front of me. So I was like, I just don't want to be like this when I get older. Then they overdosed, and I just went, I'm not touching drugs. But by the time I was 28, Mum had gone through about 7 years of leukemia, and they said, this is the end. She didn't want to get any more treatment because she could have went into a coma, and therefore I just sort of went out one night with the boys like we always did, and I'd drink, and I just said, pass the bag, and that was it. We pretty much punched on in the club. I snatched it off them, and I said, you're not stopping me. This is happening. If you don't give it to me, I'll get it myself. And I thought,
It was around 28, was it?
Yeah, 28. Yeah. No emotional intelligence, not able to handle my stress, and this is how I'm going to do it. And off I went, and just crazy.
Yeah. So tell me about bank robbing. Yeah. Bank robbering, is that what you call it?
Bank robbering.
So what'd you do? You said money snatching off counters first.
Yeah, so we went through this whole phase, and you could see it was just escalating, but it was always, even the police, to be honest, they respected us because of the way we did crime. It was real crazy, and people won't understand this, but I never wanted to hurt anyone. I just wanted to get the money so I could survive in my head, and it was so ingrained that I thought that was normal behaviours. But then we got to a point where we started to walk past banks and people were depositing money from their businesses. And I look back on it now, knowing that I got a business, maybe that was somebody's last money. And just, you can't change who you used to be. You can only give back to the world and try and create some balance of what happened. But someone's depositing money, or they'd count up money at the end of the day on the counters back then, and they'd put all the money from the drawers on the counters, from 50 grand, 100 grand, and we'd just walk in and snatch.
Or just run in and grab it and run out?
No, you just walk in and pretend you were going to make an inquiry, and we had a little bit of a signal, and the person would hold the door and bang, you snatch the money and take off. And some days that'd be 100 grand, 50 grand in a day. And, for two young kids, happy days, off we went. And to me, it gave me an opportunity to step away from doing it every day, Matty. I just didn't want to do it every day. It was more survival. But then it got to a point where it just became a habit, and we just went out every day. Even though you might have plenty of money not in your bank account essentially, but in your own account somewhere, what would happen was we'd just continuously go out. When I did 3 years as a kid, we did 8 in the one day, and just crazy stuff. 8 in the one day, over 200K in money, snatching off various counters, and it could be 8 grand here, 50 grand there, 20 grand here. End of the day, we end up with about over 200K. We get filmed over in Crow's Nest, and unfortunately, I was on camera, and the rest is history.
So you went to
Juvenile justice at that point.
Yeah.
Did
so
3
you're
years
like 16, 17 or?
Yeah, it would have been, I'd say 16, because the sentence overlapped over once I went past 18. And during that sentence, I shouldn't say I'm very lucky, because unfortunately for this to happen, someone lost their life. From the kids that I grew up in the area, they were private school kids. They get locked up. They've never been locked up. I know them, so I protect them. They're with me in the sense.
Is this inside?
Yeah, inside. You're not saying that, but people know they're your mates, so they don't do anything. And they get into their education. They continue their education through their system up there, and they're like, come up to education, come with us and do something while you're here. And I was like, I don't do that. Don't worry about it. Come up. And they sort of really got at me. And I did year 10, year 11 and bit of year 12, and then got out and finished year 12 outside. So
yeah, right.
Just, it wouldn't have happened. And whatever life gave me, it was meant to happen. And, you're always here, you're meant to be where you're meant to be. And I think that was just how it worked out and panned out.
What was like the first day you went in there? What did that feel like to the juvenile?
Juvenile? Scary. You're in with other people. And it is like, especially juvenile, there's a lot of fights. So you better get good at fighting or you better get good at hiding. One of the two. So I chose, growing up in Redfern, it was a normal thing. So
it's like your street you grew up in.
Violence was the first response. And a lot of the, pretty much everyone knew how to fight from our area, and we all were tough. So we could be skinny, but everyone fears us. And you talk about jail, you hear jail stories on social media, and they say, who's, Aboriginal people in jail and custody, we've got no fear. And we'll go to the end, and we always had that mentality, and we're strong inside. So we just grew up that way. So as soon as I got in there, I was like, oh, well, I'll just do what I need to do. But it was scary. Like I was 12, I think, or 13 at the time.
Did you know people in there before you went in? Or
I was hoping to bump into some people, and I did bump into people from Redfern because we were all locked up. A lot of us were in and out. My story of 20 years is pretty much the same story of anyone that grew up in Redfern. So every time you went in somewhere, there was someone from Redfern in custody, literally. So even when I got locked up in Melbourne, there was someone from Redfern in custody. So it's just, do you fear it? Not really. When I turned 18, I get taken to Long Bay Jail, and we get to the hospital. This bloke asked me for my shoes. My brother said, if you ever ask for your shoes, they're going to take your shoes. I respond.
Sorry, your brother said?
If you...
Like your brother?
Custody, my
said before
brother,
you went in?
If they ever ask you for your shoes, they're going to take you, they'll roll you for your shoes or take your shoes. So I was
Is this in jail? So when you went to Long Bay, someone said take your shoes off?
I get to the medical centre and the bloke goes, oh, they're nice shoes. Do you mind if I try them on, brother? That's the old, once they got them on, they're like, these are mine now, and what are you going to do about it? So I was like, I've got a bad knee, if you could take them off. And I gave him the old Redfern violence. The officer comes in and the
old Redford violence? What do you mean? Like, talk us through.
Might have given him a left hook and right uppercut accidentally.
Because he asked for your shoes.
Snap kick first as he bent down to get the shoes.
Oh, you said you got a bad knee, so he had to get them.
I said, if you can take them off, mate. I just got a bad knee, and I was standing up and might have accidentally swung my leg. And then they open up the thing, they come out and they go, what's happened here? I said, I think he was sick, that's why he's come out. He's down on the ground. They said, with blood? I said, yeah, when he fell down, something's happened to him. We go back to the unit, he's like, you're dead, Morgan, in the morning, wait till I see you. He's in the same unit. Oh, great, this is going down well. And then I hear, which Morgan's that? And I was like, oh, Jeff Morgan. It's like, it's your brother. And then my other brother's like, yeah, I'm here too, bro.
Your real brother?
Yeah, real brother.
No way. You got one brother there. You're one brother. Okay.
And I said, I'll see you in the morning, buddy. I didn't know who was in the unit. And it doesn't
How long
matter.
was he in for?
Probably
how long
5 years. I think it was 5 years he was doing at the time. Don't quote me on that, but it was probably 5 years, I'm pretty sure. We ended up becoming friends. Yeah, and he goes, mate, you got me a
The guy that took your shoes?
Yeah. Well, he didn't end up.
The guy tried to.
He ended up saying, he goes, mate, you got me a good one. He goes, how'd you even know? I said, man, my brother's taught me, so come take the shoes. Yeah, have them. But in the end, like to respond like that back then, that's just how you're built. And looking at yourself and myself now and what we've done, I had to do a lot of deep diving as to, does that truly serve you? You think that it serves you? What, I'm going to fight every person that road rages me on the streets, and I go away from my child just as you would yours. Like, is that really how you're going to respond to a situation? So I had to deep dive on that, and it started probably prior to that when I got locked up at 16 I got 3 years at that time for those bank snatches.
I was going to ask you, on that note, just so everyone can keep on the storyline. Yeah. You got out, juvenile.
Yeah, in and out.
Yeah, and then you went back into bank robbery, or like, is that what happened? So how did you get up into adult prison?
Adult prison, so...
How did that line go?
No, I wasn't taking drugs until I was 28. That's a story in itself, but you walk past a bloke between two units and they've grabbed him. I think he had a visitor or something of that nature, and they think he's got something on him. As he walks past, he goes, hey, Morgs, how are you? And we shake, and I feel it, so I take it, put it down the pants and walk back to my unit. When I open the door, they like come out the back here, they strip me, they find it. It was $20 sachet of marijuana. Did not touch drugs at that point in time. And I said, we know it's, say it was you. We know it's Matt's. And I was like, no, it's mine, mate. And he's like, so you're going to take the rap? Because you'll get charged for this. I said, yeah, it's mine. Get charged for it. I go to court that day and I'm thinking $20 stick, it's nothing, they'll give me a fine. I'm already doing 3 years.
So where was this? This is in
Mount
Juvenile.
Penang,
this is in Juvenile.
Detention center,
right.
Carry on.
So this is when you're still in? Yeah, okay.
And I go down to Gosford Courts. I think I'm just going to get a fine or something. I get down there and the judge goes, $20 stick, what's serving 3 cents? What's he serving it for? Bank snatchers. This, well, I'll give him 3 months concurrent. And I'm like, oh, sweet. I walk back to the cell and he goes, what are you smiling for? And I said, well, wouldn't I be smiling? 3 months concurrent, it doesn't matter to me. He goes, no, mate, you just got sentenced as an adult. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, how old are you? And I was sitting there going, shit, I've already turned 18. He just gave me a jail sentence for a $20 stick and it weren't even my stick. Unbelievable. Wow. So they took me straight from there to Long Bay.
So you went from Penang to Long Bay?
And then after I finished the 3 months, went back to Penang. Just insane. And,
what was that like, going to adult prison? What was the difference?
Mate, absolutely. For the fear that I went to juvenile justice on that you asked me before, I don't really remember that. I'd say I was fearful, but when going from in that truck, just thinking about what it was going to be like, and you're just in battle mode. You like get ready to punch on. Someone says something, just do what you got to do and go to the end. In your head, my mentality, Redfern was go to the end. If someone goes on and don't half-ass anything, and it was a good thing for me in business and in life now because I just don't do halves. I'm all in, and once I go all in, it's all at speed. So that was the mentality, and I just remember going there. By the time I got there too, you're driving down from Gosford, they pick you up in the afternoon. So I would have got in at 8 o'clock at night. It was just dark. And you can imagine going into Long Bay Jail, they're the old sandstone, and you're just looking around, it's quiet. This can be very violent. Heard the stories. It was totally different back then to what it is now. And I was like, here we go. And
did you get put in with someone? Like, was it a cellmate or your own cell? Or how,
I got put in
go?
with 2 people, and those 2 people said it was 2 bunks, and they had, it's the first time someone's asked me that actually on a podcast. And like the old school, how I grew up, just a foam mattress on the floor, man, and that was it.
So you got the floor?
And the floor, and I'm talking the floor, and then the toilet's right there. So if someone goes to the toilet, they're pretty much almost standing. I'd put my head up the other end, but they're standing at the base of your bed, and you're looking at someone. It's just insane.
And did you get on with them? Like, what if you don't like them, or what if there's no good energy? Or
I worked overtime. I started to work out how you can get what they call 1 out cell. So just me by myself. So to do that, you have to be a bit violent every now and again. And I said, look, I can't, I'm just built this way. You put someone in with me, it's not going to end good. And then went down and you work the clinic, you sort of tell them you're a bit crazy or whatever it is, and they say he needs to be 1 out because this could end bad for us. Bit of due diligence, I think, from them. And you get a certificate, 1 out certificate, which meant from that point on, I was just always, and I did that very quickly. After that sentence, I made sure I was pretty much 1 out unless I chose to go. But in saying that, if you choose to go, it shows that you aren't. And like, I have to say, I'm comfortable with this person. I grew up with them or something of that nature. Whereas if you go in, they say, well, you went 2 out before, which means 2 of you in 1 cell. Why can't you do it now?
So how did you know about the 1 out? Did someone tell you?
Someone had done that. So I just went, I'll go down the same path. I was always someone who tried to get the most out of any environment. And if I just didn't want to be around somebody going to the toilet in front of yourself, smelling their toilet or, whatever it is, snoring, sitting up. So a lot of people went up. There's people that didn't make it out of jail, Matt, because of that situation.
Really?
Where, I'm watching TV and you're saying, mate, do you mind turning it off? It's 3 o'clock in the morning. And they're like, no, mate, I'm watching TV. Well, bang, 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 or even worse. And person doesn't walk out of that cell, and that's just the reality of that conversation.
When you're laying there, first night, jail, got these 2 people in your cell, what are you thinking to yourself?
Just like stay up, because if they try
anything,
as when I was a kid then, you hear stories about men being raped in jail, and that's just the realest you could be around it. It's just, you're thinking, and I'm looking at these 2 men, but they were they did hear my brothers, and they said, "Oh, your brothers are here." So sort of, if that hadn't happened, I don't know how I would have been responding, because I felt like I was a bit safer. They go, "Oh yeah, your brothers are crazy," and I was like, "Oh good, they know that we're hectic." And
that's handy.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, how good's this in that sense? But
yeah.
I go to Parramatta Jail. They moved me within the second sentence. I go to Parramatta Jail after 3 months, and as an example, I'm standing there, and this bloke walks over, he goes, "Hey Jeff, I've got a message to look after you, and we'll go 2 out together." And this is the second time I go in, and I'm working that 1 out certificate at that point in time, but I'm not there yet. We're on muster, which is you're about to go into Parramatta Jail, old sandstone, locked down from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock the next morning. And they're like, "Morgs, you're crazy going in with him." And I was like, "Why is that?" And they're like, "He's got AIDS." And I was like, "Are you joking?" I thought they were mucking around. I said, "You joking?" He said, "Nah, bruh, just be careful." We go in, I'm watching him, I stay up later than him, we fall asleep, and next thing I hear noise, and I open my eyes, and the bloke's got a syringe in his arm full of blood, and I'm like, "Whoa, hey, what's happening here?" And he goes, "Oh, so sorry, mate, I'm taking some drugs. I waited till you go to sleep. I didn't want to do it in front of you, this, that, and the other." But imagine, like, I was 18, and I'm just like, man, this bloke's going to inject me or something.
Did you get on with him in the end?
Yeah, mate, he was a champion human. But I also knew that he would go out and do something pretty violent, and he ended up taking somebody's life after that. So he was a very violent man, but it's real crazy, because when you sit with these people, they're totally different people. And so many of them cried to me, like we'd chat, and their fathers weren't there, their mother was alcoholic or on drugs So what role modelling did they get? Nothing. So validation now from the areas to be a great drug dealer, make money, get the girls, or whatever it was. And it's sad that society will then say, lock them up, throw away the key, without seeking to understand. And until you're in a position in society where something happens in your family or life, then you want, help me, seek to understand me. And I'm like, seek to understand the whole world for the best interest of the world, and the world will be a better place. There's a word called Mellorism. Everyone can look that up for themselves. Be that person, and the world will be a better place.
So bank robbery,
yes.
That went for 20 years.
Yeah.
So tell us about that journey.
So I was back in, out. I get arrested for first bank robbery. I served 5 years there, Matt. I get out. I'm out for 6 months. At that point in time, we're a solid crew. We've been a crew since we were kids, which I think a lot of people respected, because in that world, people dog eat dog, whether they sleep with your partner when you get locked up, or steal your money, or you end up dead because I want your money. We were all really, really strong and loyal to one another.
So this is your bank robbery team?
Yeah, and we operated...
A bit like Ocean's 11?
Literally, that was our version. We were watching stuff like Heat back then. Heat was Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, and they were doing armor guards and stuff, and he was a cop trying to catch him. So we were watching these movies and inspired by that sort of stuff. So, we go to Melbourne 2003, and unfortunately, I had a feeling we were being watched. I said to the boys, "Mate, I think we're being surveillanced." Seen the same car 3 times, and I said, "This car is going to have a bird shit back near the back area, or little phone antennas they used to have on the cars back then." And they're like, "Nah," and it goes by, and they're like, "Oh, wow." I said, "I've seen it in 3 different locations. We're getting followed. We can pull the plug, get done for the car. Don't worry about it. We'll get away with it." We still rob the bank. The police watch us rob the bank. We get away from the bank with the money. I don't know how, but we just do. And we go back to the same hotel and check in. And unfortunately, the manager knew. He calls the police. They follow us into Melbourne, and we're arrested. I thought it was the worst day of my life at that point in time, because I've been out 6 months. They're calling us the Sledgehammer Gang, travelling across Australia, robbing banks. And as I said, I thought it was the worst day. It was actually the best day of my life. So it was a time that...
Why is that?
If I got arrested in Sydney, I think maybe I'd still be there. I would have went into battle mode in custody. Melbourne, I didn't have to prove anything. There was the education.
Because it's a different state or something? Or?
Yeah, it was like, you had education there. You could do a bachelor's degree. I had a computer in myself which wasn't connected to the internet, but you could actually do your, you'd print off your material, which was always hard because you miss a page or two and it didn't make sense. But basically just studied in there, even when I was in Barwon, which is like the maximum security down there. Carl Williams' little journey ended there. And those, then get into units. We got into what was called cottages, and there's big knives, you're cutting, you're cooking, and you made the people I was in with, 2 other murderers and another gangland, associate. Mm. So you got to work out how to communicate effectively, how to live and sit with people, and jail taught me so much about human behaviour, and obviously for us, what we do, high performance, it's about being totally aware of your environment and what's serving you and what's not truly serving you. The word dissonance, a lot of people just won't understand what's happening in their life, but that dissonance word, if you understand how you're built, your programs of behaviour just on autopilot, and as long as you run with that and you're not living your dreams, your aspirations, your goals, you're not stepping into the life you want, you always stay in that space because someone of value usually taught you something of that nature, your parents. And therefore, if I say that, no, what your parents taught you is actually damaging you, money isn't everything, well, now you're in a situation where no matter what I say to you, you're going to reject it because they don't even listen to the conversation. They're just responding from their base built values.
From what they know, yeah.
And as long as you do that, it's a dangerous game.
You've got a great saying on your videos, which I'm not going to steal it. I'd like to. It's a good one. Lessons are the blessings, or
lesson is the blessing.
Is that what it is?
Lessons are blessings.
Are blessings, yeah, a great one. So it's like, it sounds like to me. When did you stop? So how did you stop bank robbering? And I want to talk to you about drugs quickly because when we got on here, and I had a call from a friend on the way down here, and I get a lot of calls from different people, and I think 2 or 3 on Instagram today, and a mate rang me and he said, I just fall in a hole every 3 weeks. He's got a pumping business and he's, amazing what he's doing. But every 3 weeks, falls in a hole, has to dig himself out because he goes, I get bored or I need something more. That's drugs or that side of it. But how did you get out of bank? What was that decision like? Well, how did it stop?
I think that loyalty to the crew. I came back from court one day. We had a rule if someone could get off, and for me, I was that person that could get off. I ran the trial, came back. Colin Lovett, who did the Dom Savage Baby in a Dam case, was my QC, said, I need you men to come out and say what needs to be said. And he didn't say it that way, but I went back, and I'm obviously being in the world we're like, all right, I need you to come and say this, and it'll match up. I got out at Toorak, and the surveillance crew said
So is Toorak a jail?
No, Toorak was just a suburb in Melbourne.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I said, I went to shop. I don't know what they did after that. They said they were going to meet some girls, and that was it. So I weren't even going to sling mud on them. And I said, then I'll meet you back at the hotel, which is what the surveillance crew said they saw. And when I went back and asked them, 2 of those said, oh, look, I don't want to mess myself up for sentencing. And I think I'd done a lot of other stuff, education, I was reading books, I was studying, and I got to a point, I was starting to really miss my kids and, just say, what type of life is this? You brought the kids into the world. I wasn't being a father, that's the reality. And I started to ask all these questions, which is how I built the program. Like, I was deep diving myself and just going, how are you built there? Does that serve you? No, it doesn't. Why are you making money? And I just got to that point where the sum of all things on that day, it just hit me. I got found guilty a couple of days after that. And I walked back. I got driven back to the jail. And I was the last one on the truck that night for whatever reason by myself. And I just broke down in
on the truck back to jail.
Yeah. Usually you got the whole truck's full, and usually you're happy if you're by yourself because people smoke in the truck and the tobacco just stays stagnant in the air, and it's just disgusting. I don't smoke. And as I'm going back, I just broke down and cried, and I didn't even know why. And I just think enough was enough. I was in Segro, the slot, at that point in time, which meant I was in a room by myself. I had a mobile phone. boys had pulled it out during my trial. I came back one day and they go, "You're going that way," and I go, "That's a slot. I'm not going there."
So you had a mobile phone
in jail.
Like, do you just smuggle one in?
Yeah, you whether someone brings it in for yourself, you get it in a particular way. We get it in, and I got it hidden in probably the best spot you've ever. It was a little ledge, and I
Not
made
up
up
your
a
bum.
tool. Nah, definitely not. Not my cup of tea. And we cut that out. It's in a great spot. I said, "Don't touch a phone during the day." Anyway, I come back and they go, "Down this way, Morgan." I said, "That's the slot. I'm over there." And I said, "No, mate, there's a mobile phone found in your butter today." And I was like, "Well, all right, no problems." Walked down there. That was during my trial, so I think it really beat up on me. And I started to think,
how did it get into butter?
the boys had taken out. They'd used it during the day,
right.
And then just at lunch break, they put it in the butter, and like they melted a bit. They push it in a plastic bag underneath. They just get a knife and go like this because they know the trick, and they obviously found it. I think it was all a combination of what was meant to happen, because they didn't come to court. I go to the slot. I'm at the end of my trial, and when I'm there, I'm just thinking about life. Is this what you really want out of life? Is this what you want to keep doing? How old were you? I would have been it was 2003, so 73.
30s?
Yeah, 30. 30 on the dot. Got out at 37 and never looked back. But 30, and I was just like, you can change.
So you got out at 37 years old?
37 years of age.
Yeah, right. So from that time you thought about it at 30, you got out 7 years after.
7 years. And I thought about changing at 16, but I was so ingrained with same again. I told myself everything was okay. This is dissonance of the perceived reality. I could do jail standing on my head, but if I give you the key up for that 7-year sentence on day one, you walk out, Jeff, 100%. Well, then why are you telling yourself it's okay? So I started to ask those questions. As humans, if we do that, whether it's the drug use, whether it's alcohol to deal with our emotions, whether it's sleeping around to feel better about ourselves, at the end we sleep around to do that, and then we go, we've got a name. And then everyone's like, why are they calling me that? And I'm like, well, what we did, we handled our emotions a specific way, and that specific way is now created a label for yourself that you're not comfortable with. So what you told yourself was okay and was helping or fixing things is actually the total opposite. You actually made it worse for yourself. Now you still got that thing that you haven't dealt with in what I call your invisible backpack, and now you've added another thing, a layer that you just didn't even want to carry. And to me, that's just how humans function. So
with drugs,
and
then I want to move on to what you're doing now, because you're doing some incredible things. So with drugs, you were telling me before we got on here, your friend, like you were getting on it one day, and your friend said that he didn't trust you the same because you're a hypocrite.
Absolutely.
And you gave up then and there. Tell us about it.
We're on cocaine. We're racking up, and we're sitting together having rack conversations as you do. Business ideas and the old chip and chase. I ran 100 metres. Yeah, me too. And anyway, we're having these conversations. He says, "Can I say something to you, Morgs?" I said, "Anything, brother. Why wouldn't you just say it?" He goes, "I've got to tell you something. I had a TV show at the time, and it was called Jeffrey's Healthy Tips, right?
Okay.
And here I am, trainer, qualified nutritionist, telling the world to be healthy. And on the weekends, long weekends, no one knows. I'm letting loose. I'm letting my hair down. Still didn't have hair back then. And I'm enjoying life. And we're sitting there, just him and I, and no one knows. And he says, Morgs, I just don't feel like I can trust you for. And I said, what's that? What did I ever do? And he goes, it's not what you did. He goes, but you're on TV saying this. He goes, but you're doing this. And I was like, he goes, it's very hypocritical, and it makes me think, if you can do that there, what could you do to me? And I was like, wow. I just pushed the plate across, had some more, and I just said, brother, you can even sell that. You can do what you want with it. I'm going home. Thank you for being honest with me. I appreciate and love you. He's like, you might as well finish it. And I was like, I'm out. See you later.
And that was it?
That was it. Never again.
Just gave up?
Because I can't say I'm a high-performance coach. I'm going to teach you leadership, stress and time management, and my stress and time management came from a plate. It's just not, it's...
Contradiction.
Yeah, so that misalignment, I said, I can trick everybody, but I didn't sit well with myself. As soon as he said that, I felt shit inside. And I was like, he goes, Chinese whispers, people know. And it's like the NRL with what's happening now. There's people in the background doing it. I did all the clubs on the wellbeing and leadership level, and that's, last year as an example. A couple of the clubs I didn't get around to, and I'll do it again this year, were Souths. And what ended up happening, someone ended up exactly what I spoke about. They'll take a photo of you doing it, they'll try and sell it to the paper, they don't care about you. And I think once you're in misalignment, you can tell everybody how good you are. You can put on a New South Wales, Australian jersey, but underlying, you'll know inside that you're not the greatest version of yourself.
You can see the energy comes out every time.
I can stand there. Yeah. I can watch the game and tell.
Yeah.
And literally, and that's from jail. Being in environments, I'll see behaviours, I'll see the levels, the intensity in a game versus how you used to be. I say, this person, I can guarantee they're dabbling in my head. And I'd know on the back end of that, back in the days, everyone would come party bourbon or DCMs, and they'd all be on it, contracted players. Can you get us some morgs? No problems. And I'd be the connector. And I didn't. Funniest thing, I didn't get into that side of things until I was 28, as I said, thinking it would deal with my mum's leukemia. 7 years on, and this is it. She says, I'm not having treatment. We go out one night. We're at, I can't even remember the club across from DCM's, Temple. Oh, yeah. And we're there and was kicking the night off there, and I just snatched something off somebody and said, this is how I'm going to deal with my emotions. Why? Because I just didn't know how to do it. And many people do that, and it's a revolving door every single weekend. Friday night, kick it off at the Meriton Apartments, go out to some club or sit in the hotel all weekend and
keep going.
Just keep going. So.
Yeah. Do you know, with jail, like I sort of know the general answer, but does that like it's a lot of your life that you know, in a way it's been a huge blessing in the lesson, but it's do you ever look back and go, wow, a lot of years locked up in a thing, survival mode, and we were in survival mode in different ways, but do you have any sort of, like, looking back, does it PTSD type thing or?
I got diagnosed with PTSD and clinical depression, so long-term depression, but I'm someone that just doesn't buy into labels.
You just parked it.
I'm just like, it's not, you don't tell me who I am. I was a high performer in my field, and if I chose to put it into sport, I always perform well. If I chose to put it into anything, I'm going to perform well. What is a lesson that becomes a blessing out of this situation? And that's all I did. I just looked at, the craziest thing about all this, Matty, people are prisoners of their own mindset, and they're free walking around outside all their life.
Couldn't have said it better.
And I mean it nicely. This is what we do when we go into these organisations. What do you want from life? And if I say, get off the drugs, Matty, you're going to be like, oh, all right, bro, no problems. They straight away, their body language. Whereas if I put it in a way that allows them to ask themselves particular questions, they have a light bulb moment. And they go, I've never thought about it like that. Even when I go back to custody and I say to the young kids, validation and get them to sort of have that realisation, but disrespect. Do you hate being disrespected? Yeah, what would you do to the person? Oh, I mess them up. What if I did something to your mother and and what would you do to me? And they'd go, I'll do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, of course you would, right? Why is that? Oh, because you're disrespecting my mother. I said, so can I ask you why it's okay for you to disrespect your mother or somebody else's mother? And they sit there and they look at me and they're just stunned mullet. And it's getting people to see something that they can't see so they can be who they really want to be.
So do you think that's your skill set now? So like if somebody, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's if someone's listening to this and they're in a real slump in life, they're fighting monsters inside. They might look good on the outside. We both know what that feels like. But what do they do? Like, where does it start?
Surrendering. You got to surrender, because what will happen, as I said, you'll build of values, and as soon as I don't talk that value, let's say we jump in the car, your favourite music's R&B or DCMs, whatever it is, and I pump classical, and you're like, gosh, it's outside your values. Now there's friction, there's frustration, there's stress. You've got to just say, 1 second, right? Not in this situation, but if I could create a solution, does Jeff or Matt or whoever it is have what I want, whether it's the life, the car, the body, the thoughts, the behaviors, the function, and then just surrender and say, hey, what's the first step? And then when that person gives it to you, get in the habit of being a champion, of being a beginner, but also understanding we're challenging your first thought, because your pattern of behavior is going to say, no, I need to reject Matt or Jeff. That's not how you do it. And then you've got to ask yourself, wait a second, how I'm built has never got me that peace I want, that money I want, that car I want, the girl I want, whatever it is. And just say, tell me. And implementation. Knowledge isn't power without application.
So is that being open? Is that how you're talking
Absolutely.
about? Like the first step is being open to say, I need to learn how to do it better?
Most people aren't open because we don't understand the values are set. And as soon as you start talking, you're not talking my language. And you see, in conferences, they'll sit like this, and maybe whether it's, maybe they've been a victim of crime, so now they've said, no matter what you say from this point, I don't even care, even though it could bring me peace. And I'm like, mind blown. Oh, look, I was a victim of crime, and I don't feel it's good that we're learning off you. And I've had that before, which is cool. You can say what you need to say, but at the same time, be open, so open that you're listening for the lessons that became blessings from this person's life that could accelerate your life but decompress your life, which means the time that you'd spend learning it, 30 years worth, real estate, 30 years, I come to you and say, Matty, I want to be a real estate. If I say, oh, mate, I think I could do it better this way, which I will, we all think we will, you're going to close the deal and you say, all right, Jeff, do this next deal with this bloke, and here's how I do it. And they go, no, I'm not interested. And you're like, what happened? And I'm like, I don't know. He wasn't. Then we'll blame him. Oh, it was his fault and all of the above, rather than saying, how could I get my pitch right? How could I be better? How can I present better? What should I have said at that point in time? Was I listening to the cues? Those elements, and I'm not no real estate agent, but I know that would be the process, because when you're aware and you're conscious and you're mindful, you'll surrender. If I want to learn real estate, I'll come to yourself and learn that. I'm not that expert. And what we do, we become the expert in everything based around our values, and we'll close off every bit of information that I give you as a gift. And as soon as you do that, you block yourself off from growth.
So were you an angry person before? Were you, because it seems like, and this is another question, a lot of what you're talking about seems to be managing your emotions. To not let yourself escalate, and were you an angry person, or
I'd say no. I had never had an intention to be. I had my mother and grandmother who I feel influenced me to respond the way I did. But I was so angry from my parents unconsciously until I became conscious of it, that I always responded from violence when I needed to, and just over the top violence. And it was to say, whether it was in jail, whether it was just in general, if you mess with me, you're going to get. So I'm not as big as yourself, to make sure that people understood. If someone as big as, I'd make sure I did what I needed to do. And I'd say, he's just hectic. And that's a lot of fear. So fear,
a bit like a currency, isn't it, when you're in that world?
Absolutely.
To be feared.
100. Yeah. So they go, don't worry about his size, and he's quiet. He'll do so. It was all from fear, man. That's the reality. Do I want to hurt that person? No. But if you mess with me, I need to send a message to make sure. So even when I got into custody, people would go, he'll just go. He has no fear, and he'll go to the end. And people at that point in time, I did it. And if I was on the streets and someone, I probably won't talk about that, but a situation arose and someone came at me with the intention of taking my life, I'd do what I need to do. And
absolutely.
But never again will I do, respond from violence in a sense. But if
so how do you manage your emotions? How do people manage their emotions?
You've got to know what emotions are there and what's it. I call it your invisible backpack. What's in your invisible backpack? My parents didn't love me, in my head. When I learn about my parents, they gave me 2,000% of 100%. And I what we don't know, we judge. I've stuffed them. So I was emotionally unintelligent, and I judged them. So I just carried that anger. So you've got to be able to say, how am I built? And what am I built from? Your characteristics are built from your past experience. Your future is in your past, right? So you go back and you look at it, every lesson should be a blessing. But what we do, the brain functions, the limbic brain stores that memory, creates an emotion and a feeling. And I call it the negative fear loop. And I created this myself: feelings, emotions, action, reaction. You break up, the feeling is I'm not worthy, the emotion is I'm sad, the action is let's binge eat on food to make me feel better, but the reaction is now you're hiding behind people in a wedding photo because you put weight on, your health's taken a hit, you're isolated in a bedroom. Until you grab that and say, how do I then shift that into a positive loop? What would I like to feel? What was the lesson that became a blessing out of it? And you go through that same, I want to feel worthy. So what's that mean? 10 layers deep, I call it a layered approach. Set boundaries. What are my values? What are my morals, etc.? What are the conversations? When my partner disrespects me, how can I have that conversation respectfully? Hey, I don't feel. If they don't understand that, maybe that's not your person.
Talk us through that. If a partner disrespects you,
so
that's a very common one,
especially now, domestic violence. You know, and
what's the layers?
Being able to have those conversations. What's the conversation for yourself? So most people are attracted. Oh, this girl, this guy is beautiful across from me. We start conversating, maybe even in a nightclub. You go home, a bit of intimacy, and now you're just starting to hang out. And now you're realizing that this person, hey, can you grab me a cup of water? And you're like, hey, wait a second. And being able to have that conversation at that point in time, are you strong enough? Oh, they've told me they love me, so I'll let him get away with this one, or her, get away with it one time, and now it becomes an enabling behaviour. If I know I can get away with it once, I'll do it again and again. Bank robbery is the example, right? So to be able to identify that and say, what's the conversation I need to have when that comes up? But we don't do it because we get in on attraction.
We react.
We're reactive, not proactive. So before you go into the next relationship for anybody, be able to understand what are your non-negotiables in the relationship. Write them out. And once you have non-negotiables, raising your voice, speaking to me disrespectfully, and when I say, then I'd say, what's that even mean? Oh, if he calls me a particular name, raises his voice, screams at me, demands of me, or whatever it is, have your own. And then what's the conversation around each of those? Hey, I'm really into you, but what I don't want, or what I wouldn't like within our relationship, so we're both happy because we both want to feel loved, cared for, valued and mattered, correct? Correct. Well, when you raise your voice, it makes me feel scared of you rather than actually love you, or whatever it is that you'd have as a conversation. And if the person responds, get over it, then maybe what's the next conversation you can have? Like, as much as I love you, I think now's my time to get out of this. And as much as I feel great having some intimacy, you cuddling me and telling me how beautiful I am, at the same time, beauty isn't through disrespect. Beauty isn't through demanding something of me. Beauty isn't through conversations of, convenience, which means I just want some intimacy now, so I'm going to tell you how beautiful you are. Wrong person. Get yourself out.
Yeah,
and it's a lot deeper than that, but that's like a quick little example of it, and that just gives you depth. Most people just roll out, how's your day, mate? Good. What are you up to? Not much. What are you doing later? Don't know. And that is it. We learn a particular thing. Here's a great example for everyone. Heart disease, diabetes and cancers, right? 3 big killers. How much does everybody know about those 3 things? Mainly that, they'll kill us, so let's try and live a healthy life. What's a healthy life look like? What foods would actually activate it? What behaviours would activate it? Most people wouldn't know. You could chat GPT it in 30 seconds. Give me 10 tips around how I can stay away from each of these: cancer, heart disease, diabetes. 10 of the main tips to stay away from the big 3 killers so that I could live the healthiest life and be optimum for myself internally. Bang, and it will spit it out in 30 seconds, read them and practice it. Learn to start to practice those until they become a part of your DNA. And why is that important? Go to a cancer ward, go to a diabetes ward, go to a heart disease ward, the more realistically, sometimes your first time is the last time. and you understand why that's important. People just won't do that.
Yeah, it's true. When I was thinking about what you're saying then, it's really about getting clear on your non-negotiables in life, isn't it?
100%.
Understanding what that looks like and saying, well, this is my non-negotiables, because it's,
And you'd have them in real estate. You'd have them organically, but if you consciously wrote them out, you'll see them and say, what could I add to that, maybe in your pitch, so that the ones that you haven't got, it's a pattern of behaviour, and you go, oh, what I'm pitching, am I learning their language? Maybe it's the 5 languages of love. What's this person love? The other day, I went for a massage as an example, and I said, my knee's bad, you can go, I've had 3 knee reconstruction, you go hard on that right knee, right leg. And I said, but the rest is relaxing. And then he's got his elbow in my back, and I'm like, you didn't listen to my language of love for me, Do you reckon I'm going to go back to that massage place? Am I inspired? Oh, yep, he was great. I'm going to go back and get a massage there. And my partner's going there she's just had something, so she needs the massage. She loves the lady that does it. I'm going to book a massage. Do you want me to book you in? I'm like, no, I'm cool. Because they didn't listen to the language of love, or what's on the other side. You're servicing that client. Do that again to yourself. Listen to your own language of love, but most don't. You just go, oh, what do I do today? Wake up, get ready, go to work, come home, and that's it. What about your health, your wealth, your happiness, your inner peace? Oh, I don't have time. If you had cancer, you'd be at that 9 a.m. Appointment tomorrow morning. Why aren't you doing it now? Make sure you're proactive, not reactive to life.
It's true. In real estate, I can only talk about real estate because what I do, but I'm sure it's many other businesses. There's one function that real estate agents, they want to get away from the roller coaster of results. One function that will take that away. It's prospecting. And most just don't do it.
Yeah.
Most don't want to do it. It's hard. It takes too long. This and that. Building relationships. I was just listening to what you're saying then, and I'm like, yeah, it's so true. This will take you there. Now, so what if someone
do what is easy, and life will be hard, and
exactly
hard and life will be
it's
easy.
the other way around.
Jack, that's for yourself too, mate.
Yeah, we butt heads a few times, me and Jackson. So just as we're wrapping up, now you teach leading, so you're a coach on leadership, business, and high performance.
Yeah.
So what does that look like? Like if someone's listening to this going, I'd love to tap into this guy a bit more. What does that look like?
12-month roadmap, just as an example, and different elements. And it could be stress and time management, staff burnout, emotional intelligence, high performance habits. I can say high performance habits, but what's that mean? I say to the person, because you ask people, they go, I want to get more out of life. And I'm like, yes, sweet. And they're like, you should come with us to this run club. And I said, why would I come there? And they're like, because it's great and you'll feel fit, right? And I'll go, oh, okay, and what else? And they go, or, you go down a pathway and I want to start a business, and people, probably a better example, and they'll say, how do I start a business? And they go, how did you start your business? And they go, oh, I just did well, and you just got to keep pushing on no matter what, through what. And it's just surface level, right? And I'm like, all right, so what's my first step? And they go, never ever give up. And I'm like, okay, so what's the first step? And they're like, just when shit hits the fan, keep moving forward. And they'll just keep giving me this surface level. So the idea of our program is to give you layers deep of depth. And that means if you say stress and time management, conflict resolution, effective communication, what is leadership? And then the elements even under that, I call them an umbrella that goes under an umbrella. You're going through all these, it's like an octopus on octopuses. And these tentacles are all components of the wheel of leadership, or stress and time management, or sleep, how to sleep better. Most people are stressed out all the time, but they then have technology in the bedroom. They've got the blinds up. They haven't invested in a bed, because I'd spend $8,000 on the mattress, and they're like, I wouldn't spend that much. You spend about 33% of your life in bed, depending on the average lifespan. And you tell me you got a sore back every day, but you've bought a bed that's uncomfortable and you've got a sore back every day. It tells me a lot that you're not consciously thinking about the unconscious. I just buy a bed, save money. Invest in a bed, and I don't have that money. Well, what you've just told yourself is the ceiling of your knowledge around making money is here. Could you remove that ceiling. I want to learn more around e-commerce, whatever it is, crypto. I don't know what it is. There's so much YouTube, whatever you want in this world, and go out and chase that until you get it. And that means that those elements are depth. There's depth and substance. You ever met somebody and, you might have met partners back in the day, it's 20 out of 10 in looks and just absolute, and I mean this nicely, you just can't have a conversation. I'm going to put it that way.
For sure.
And I'm like, I can spend 2 minutes with this person, have some fun, and look, I've got to catch up with Maddie and I'll catch up next week, because there's nothing there versus someone that's talking real estate at this current time for yourself, keeping fit, keeping healthy, and you're going to have great conversations. Hey, do you want to do JV? I thought, you're talking and these two people have sort of I thought about doing that. Me too. Want to do something together? Let's do it. And you see those two people elevate to a whole new level of life. And
so do you think your environment's very important?
Absolutely, man. Now, you always hear that network. Your network determines your network. Your network determines your net worth. But in general, like even on an emotional level, because what happens if you don't have those boundaries, so even that, setting boundaries, when you get now down into personal development and we're setting boundaries, goals, dreams, aspirations, values, limiting behaviours, thoughts, beliefs, like you're going through all these in the program, what happens, most people, especially family, they can talk to me like that. Oh, can I borrow $100, $20, whatever? Yeah, no problem. I'll give it back to you Monday. Monday rolls around, they don't ever call. And you don't call because, it's family, don't worry about it. But it's just the value of it. How could I teach you to make that $20? Would you be interested in that? So having real depth and substance to conversations. And I've done it. Last year I had 13 people, Matt, like literally randoms. I'm in a shop buying, the last one I was buying headphones, and the bloke goes, can I tell you something? I go, yeah, go for gold, mate. He goes, you're one of the most balanced human beings I've met. Why would someone even say that? And it's a projection of what you just are. So if if I was bendering, I walked in, I'm like, hey, you got chewing gum?
Yeah.
They're like, he's wrecked, he's a mess. And it's the projection of what you present from who you are.
Yeah.
You can't hide that. You can pretend to hide it, but Chinese whispers, Maddie's partying on the weekends and everyone knows. Be the version of yourself, and if you can't be, then that's where you need to surrender and open yourself up to the information and education that will shift and change you into a whole new beast. Most people won't do that because they feel that you're judging them, or, I feel embarrassed that I'm at this level of life. We've all been there, man, and just everyone's got a story, and just be the champion of being a beginner. And the best thing you could ever do is you've got to disappoint other people. And people are like, no way, I don't want to disappoint people. I go, even family and friends, would you do that? They're like, no. I said, you've got to say no to them and yes to yourself.
Yeah.
Come do this with me. Come, let me treat you this way. You wouldn't like that from a partner. Why is it okay for family? Which then becomes an enabling behaviour to yourself. So if you're not a projection of, the craziest thing, I do conference, and I mean this nicely to the females, I've got women talking to each other, yeah, look at this post, and I'm like, I'll just hold up really quickly. Can I ask you something? Would you like to be respected as a female or as a person? Yes. What about as a female by men? Yes. I said, how could you demand respect when you don't give it out yourself? While I'm talking, you're having a conversation around some social media post. Okay, do you feel that you're going to get respect by not giving respect? It's clear and obvious that you've got a boundary that's, say if you drew a circle, there'd be a little gap in that circle, and I call Mr. Toxic comes in. Hey, I'm Jeffrey Morgan, filled with stress, heartache, pain, suffering, and because you built wrong and I'm attractive, you go, oh, great, let's have some intimacy. He's about to make me feel good. That's where you damage yourself.
That's a
You're
good
not
point.
built well. So build yourself well. Mr. Toxic doesn't get in because you got boundaries. You know the conversations, morals, beliefs, your mindset.
It's like you make a bubble around yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And someone comes in, they're trying to get in and they're just hitting this bubble, dying. All these people that drop into your inboxes, block, delete, whatever it may be for yourself, edit and delete these relationships and it's happy days for yourself. Spot fires, they're all spot fires, and there's enough spot fires in the world, whether it's people's thoughts, what's happening in government, in wars, in lockdowns, in whatever it is. we focus on the external so much we forget about the internal of ourselves.
Yeah,
Focus
absolutely.
about what you want, and what Jax does, what you do. It's not my business. If it's something of a nature, I'm how good's that? He's training with his son, and that's how he talks to his son. I watched that video this morning. I'm like, I'd love to have that relationship with my son and build that. So if I get that opportunity, have those combos with him. Joe's unfortunately done a lot of damage in the relationship with my kids. That's a reality.
Do you still talk to him or close to him?
I do my best to try, and it's like, what's the term? It's hard to, when you get rejected so much, to sort of just keep showing up, and you just keep showing up, and especially by your own kids. But I understand it all. I do, and it's just they're not built, and I mean this nicely to my own kids. They're me. They don't have the emotional intelligence, or have me. Until they do, someone teaches them, they might have this realisation Dad's actually trying to rebuild the relationship. It's nothing I wouldn't do for my kids, But it was so damaged that it's one thing in my life that still sits. The rest of my life is bliss, and I've done everything to work on myself, my environments, just my kids, man. And I've lost a brother and sister similar to yourself, recently, and it's just hard, to keep showing up and knowing that the darkness is there. And I've tried to step away from all the darkness, because the darkness was violence, the darkness was not a nice person, the darkness was the old me. So I don't want to associate that with my kids, and I want to associate love with my kids, and it's just a real catch-22.
It is.
I've got to go into the darkness to try and bring them back out into the light, and it's hard when you hit it. They've got their own boundaries around it, and I'm hitting the brick wall. So it's quite ironic.
Oh, mate, we have a couple of those in our family, so don't worry.
Yeah.
Last thing, fitness.
Yep.
You're an incredibly fit-looking person.
Thanks.
How important is fitness in life journey, success? We know the answer, but tell me about structure. Like, what does that look like in your world and others? What should it be?
Like, you got to make it realistic for yourself and enjoyable. That's the biggest thing. Macca, big shout out to him, young kid. Come down here, do some push-ups with me, and then do this bench press. When I was in juvenile justice, I don't do that. I'll beat you. That's why, and the competition came out. So I'm forever grateful to him. I don't even know if he's still alive. If he ever sees this, reach out, get in contact. I'd love to thank you for what you did for me as a kid. But just process. You can't plant a seed in a garden and then just neglect it, because it'll come out and the plant will come out, but it'll hang like this. So you want to make sure that you're actually fueling that every single day. Water, turn it over, making sure the soil's fertile so it grows, giving it sunlight, putting it in the right position, not in the shade where it never ever gets sunlight, and expecting it to grow. So as humans, we've got to feed that every single day, and make sure we water it every single day, and find what works for you. That's the biggest thing. A lot of people, definitely weight side of things, as you get older, you want to make sure that my biggest tip to everybody, I look at people that are 50 my age, friends I grew up with, and I love you all, but far out, there's a total difference. I'm still playing sport, and most people retire in their 30s. I'm still playing contact sport. So, and I love it. And I think...
What's that, street fighting?
Nah. AFL. Then I still play touch football,
awesome.
Oztag. And I get out and about and do that. And I think find what you love doing. You do it without thinking about it, but also have a weights program, because more muscle, less body fat. And for females out there, don't worry, you're not going to bulk up. You're going to drop centimetres, and which is, if you're like this, you go smaller and you'll be more toned, if that's the word for you. It is muscle, but in general, that just allows you to your posture to be better. Heart disease, diabetes, and cancers go in the opposite direction, and your quality of life, the functionality, which means the independence that I have versus some of my mates, they're deaf warmed up and like just pale, the skin, and they. Yeah, and I mean that. The hair, you can, like everything and anything, and the rest of their habits roll off into the same, are they showing up? Are they being disciplined? Which means if they have a business, they've got a business, but is it functional and giving them the life they want? And not really because I'm too tired to be able to do that. I can't do that. I'll do it tomorrow, and those sorts of things, they're priceless. And for me, the biggest one, heart disease, diabetes and cancers, is I just don't want to be in a position where I die early because I didn't be proactive around that life. And it was by pure chance being locked up and keeping myself active. I can't tell you, and these young kids that watch, any young kid that watches this, start training now. Because if you don't train now and you don't have that habit, when I've seen friends that are 40 that were sort of coming up in the next generation that I grew up with, I want to do what you do, Morgs, but I find it hard, and it's hard to build the habits at that point in time in your life. Get up every morning, first thing you do in the morning, train. Knock it out of the way. And I do it that way, so that tells me I love myself, and that tells me that if discipline, perseverance, and whatever words you can attach to it, that's that lays deep approach. Then you've got a reason and a why to get up every morning and feel strong when you're strong. And when I wasn't, when you're injured, ask any athlete how they feel against the next athlete that's running next to them. Now I'll throw you out in the Coliseum. You're going to fight with the bung knee versus a bloke who's fully active, and you feel that you're on a different level. So that's how people would feel. And then you'll judge this, who's he think he is? He thinks he's too good, or who's he trying to look like, The Rock, or whatever it is. And that ends up, you're focused more on the external, again, somebody else's business, rather than actually tapping into yourself. I call them daily deposits. What are your daily deposits to your health? What's your bank account look like around your health? And that's not just around your body, your thoughts, your behaviours, your beliefs, your actions, the morals that you got. Because if you don't have morals, that is health.
Your emotions.
What's going to happen? Your emotions slide off. And now your management system is cocaine on the Friday night. After craziest thing, drinking culture in Australia is Friday night, or might even be Thursday night for some people, and it rolls off into Monday. So you're partying so that you can release the stress, so you can prep yourself for Monday.
Do you drink?
It blows me away. Stop drinking as well.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
excellent.
No drink.
How do people find you? So you do you coach individual people? Or you do?
Coach individual people. So we've got the corporate.
And does everyone need a coach?
Absolutely. I've got 3 coaches right now.
Okay.
So just so people are clear, and I always have a coach. If I want to learn about real estate, I'd even approach yourself and say, hey, Matty, what's your thoughts on this? What would the investment be, not the cost? How much does that cost, Matty? It's an investment in you. Hey, I want to learn about real estate, and I could go research it, even chat GPT it, but application and what I learn in uni versus what I learn in courses and actually on the streets applying it, 2 totally different things. How you conversate with someone, people skills, you can't learn that in a book. And to be able to I go to you, here's what my advice would be. Same again, don't tell me what to do. People invest in stuff and then say, look, I think it should be done this way. And I'm like, that's great. So what did you first come for? You came because it didn't happen. How could you make that happen for yourself? And when you do that, you surrender. I'm learning about real estate. What is that? And that for us, that's just, I only take on 10 people at one time. We're fully
until
booked.
They're ready. So how do you know that? Like they either go, I'm off and running, or you go, off you go.
I just say to them, look, you can stay in as long as you want. And it's very hard to kick somebody out. I wouldn't, because I'm somebody that constantly evolves, and I've had clients that have been for 5 years. There's never been a session that I've done the same thing with you. You've reinforced stuff, but we always come in with something to grow my business, grow me as an individual, grow relationships, grow the conversations I'm having. How do I actually conversate? The tone of your voice. Are you listening to the filters? Go away and listen to this book. Come back to me and we'll have a conversation around what you got out of it and how we can actually scale that. Because what they'll get out is based around their filter. What did they miss? I'll help them plug in what they missed. And some of these clients have been there forever. And why? Because there's constant what I call VB to the conversation. So everyone remembers it easy, value and benefit to the conversation to that individual to live a better life. And people go, live a better life. What's that mean? Just, be happy. All right, what else? And I'm like, well, keep going. And that's the depth we have within ourselves. Go deeper than that. What's happiness look like for you? Who are you around? What are you doing? When are you doing it? I've got a saying, do what you want, when you want, with who you want, as much as you want. That's my principle of how I build myself, which means financially, can I just tap my card and keep walking and not worry about it? Yeah, I can. Did I know that way back then? I was in debt when I came home from jail, so much money it wasn't even funny. So if I can get myself out of there, what did I do in between? Listen and learn. Do what my grandmother said, because I didn't do it, unfortunately, mate. It cost me 20 years. And same thing, Jeff, don't be like this. Don't be like the rest of them, is something she said to me often. And I'd say, so what's that mean? And she'd say, just don't take drugs and get locked up. And I'm like, so how do I not do that? And she'd be like, just don't hang around them. And they're frustrated because they love you, but they don't know the tools or strategies or whatever it is to get that deal in real estate for you, or for me to get that answer to create a solution to your problem. That's where you say, I need a coach, and I'm just going to drop my guard, and what they give me, I'll apply into my life at speed and watch what happens. Do that next year, between now and next year. And if you applied yourself, and here's the thing, not even to my program, any coach, right? And if they're terrible, I'm not giving you money, but I'll give you the money back that you invested. If they're a great coach that you send me and say, what are your thoughts around this person? I'll even research it for you and say that person's done it for a long period of time. They've got great reviews. No one's going to have bad reviews when they do great stuff. Invest the money. And I say that to people because I just want people to take that action. People always think, he's selling something to me. I just, even on my socials, I say, mate, find a coach today, but just do it today. There's probably not a coach. Yeah,
get started.
Coach that would say that, sign up to my program. I'm like, sign up to anyone, but just do it today. If I'm your person, great. If not, that's great too. You found your person, but don't doubt them, because you're building, you're not showing up and you're not trusting yourself, which then becomes a reflection into your decision making around, I don't know if Jeff's going to show up, or that's you. You're built that way. You're doubting you. Surrender, open yourself up and watch what happens.
So how do they find you? Instagram's the best place, is it? Or
jeffreymorgan.com.au. We're in an abyss at the moment. The website's, the whole rebranding's in play. Big shout out to Dane Walker. That'll be unbelievable. He's, in my opinion, probably the best in Australia. That's what I found. I did a lot of research, and we're about to rebrand March, June, but you can find me on that website. It is it's still a beautiful website, but
yeah, it's good. I've been playing around with it. Yeah, it's really good.
So by all means,
and it's Jeff with a J.
Jeffrey. A lot of people spell it differently. Type in Jeffrey Morgan bank robber, and the website will come up. It's it'll
be Jeffrey Morgan legend soon.
Mate, it's if you try and find me on socials, because Jeffrey Dean Morgan, the actor, he sort of takes over. I'm like, trust somebody with my name, but just type in that and my website will come up, or socials will come up. Hit me up on there. And my biggest thing, if you hit anybody up, this is a tip to everybody. If you hit anybody up, I want to learn about real estate, I hit Matt up, go all in. I burn the boats. I'm going to learn. And hey, what's the investment? He says to me, 10 grand a month. I go, here it is. And have that ready, because that's someone that's been in business for 30 years in their field. And I say to people, why would I doubt that? He's killing it. He looks $1 million. He presents well. I guarantee, I know how the conversation would go with you and a client. Just looking at how you can, your hair, the way you are, the way you talk to your son. I know what's going to happen in that conversation with a client, and more than likely you're speaking their language based, and the client's looking at the right property, and more than likely the deal is going to go down. Hence why you're where you are and the agent you are, and that, I hope that's the correct term.
Yeah.
That's in the end what happens. But what we'll do is we'll perform at this level and then expect this outcome. Disrespect yourself, well, you're telling everyone to disrespect you too. And that means whether it's in business, you don't know how to conversate, you don't know how to pitch. What's the elevator pitch? As soon as I get these coaching clients in small business, what's your numbers? And they're like, I don't know my numbers. How are you ever going to grow your business when you don't even know your numbers? What do you spend it on? I went to Greece for 9 weeks. That's great too. Balance is good, but what have you reinvested in your business to grow your business? And then we shift it and scale it, and there might be 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times they've scaled their business, and like, I never thought like this. Then we say, keep the balance. So go overseas and enjoy life too. I don't want you to just work and pay your bills. Money isn't for that. Go on and enjoy the holiday, but make sure you've trained somebody up or trained a team up to operate through your language. So our team speaks my language. They are all of me, and they've even said, "Oh, God, I keep speaking like you," and I'm like, "That's the idea of it." Has it changed the direction of your life? And they're like, "Absolutely." I said, "Is it better or worse?" And they're like, "Better, much better, absolutely." Financially, yes. I said, learn off me, learn off whoever it is in your space, and go out and be a better person.
Mate, phenomenal. Well, for one, I don't think I've met anyone from Everleigh Street. I'm sure I have, but to come from the world's, I reckon it's one of the world's scariest streets back when we were young anyway, and then in and out of jail to become who you are today, full credit to you, mate.
Appreciate
Unbelievable.
that. I appreciate that.
I hope everyone got a bit out of this, and hit Jeff up if you want to change your life.
Mate, thanks for having me.
Thanks.